Hey, welcome back to my channel. We're near the end of October here, which means we're near the end of Inktober. I definitely didn't do one ink drawing a day. I don't know about you. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, I've been posting some of my Inktober drawings, all of my Inktober drawings. I think I did about 12 or 13 at this point. So that's roughly every other day or so. But yeah, I didn't follow any of the prompts. Maybe I should have, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to not get too caught up in the details and just use this as an excuse to experiment with different inking styles, different tools, and different approaches. So yeah, check them out if you don't already follow me. I've been seeing some really awesome stuff on Instagram in terms of Inktober drawings. Whoever does follow the prompts and who has stuck with it every day, you have my full respect. That is quite a challenge, and it's awesome to see. Anyway, recently on my Instagram, I asked some of my followers to ask me questions if they had any other questions about inking, and I could do a part 2 to the part 1 that I already filmed earlier this month. And I thought I would zero in on one of the questions that I tend to get asked more often than not, which is, can I recommend any particular inking book? Is there any really good inking book out there as a resource for someone who's new to inking? And my answer is yes. I have shared this before, but I've never done like a full video about it. So that's what I'm going to do now. This book right here, it's called The Art of Comic Book Inking by Gary Martin with Steve Rude. Steve Rude is a fantastic comic book artist. And so he does all like the pencil examples in here. And Gary Martin is a really long time, very successful comic book inker. And so he shows most of his examples on top of Steve Rude art. The really cool thing about this book is that Gary Martin doesn't just give his perspective on it. He invites so many different inkers in the industry to show how they would go about the same image. So it's really cool to compare and contrast 5, 6, 7 different inkers and how they ink the same pencil drawing. There's a bunch of those examples throughout the book. Early on in the book, it goes through all the fundamentals: spotting blacks, feathering, cross-hatching, how to establish your style with ink, various lighting techniques, some advanced techniques. This book really has it all. There's a lot of inking books on the market, but in my experience, this has definitely been the most useful and the most helpful for me. This book is written from the perspective of someone who wants to become a comic book inker. And I think nowadays the way the industry is in comics is that most artists are inking their own work, whether traditionally or digitally. So this is great for not only inking other people's art, which it kind of focuses on a little bit more, but also inking your own art. Everything that you learn in this book can be applied to inking your own art as well. I would have to say that the best part of this book that I haven't seen any other book have is that it has these examples in the back, these blue line pencil pages that are printed out on actual Bristol board. It seems like it's a vellum Bristol board, and you can practice inking right on top of them, which I think is so cool because it's better than practicing inking on a piece of typing paper or something like that. This is actual artboard with a professional artist work on it. So that's huge. I've brought this book in many times to my cartooning classes that I teach, and as you can see, I sort of pass these boards around that came in the book, and my students have a fun time inking various panels. At this point, it's become like one big jam page from various semesters. Probably a few more semesters and one of these pages will be completely filled at this point. So anyway, that's my recommendation for an inking book. There are, like I said, various books on the market. I recommend checking out as many as you can and seeing what works for you. Probably second best to this would be How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. There's a chapter in there just on inking. That book overall is a really foundational book, and I think that any aspiring cartoonist or working professional can learn something from that book. It's a classic, and it's a classic for a reason. But their chapter on inking is super useful. I would say second best to this. This goes into a lot more detail and is a lot more extensive. So that's my recommendation. I appreciate everyone who asked me that question, and maybe in the future I will get to some of the other questions that I was asked, but I wanted to get to this one since it seemed to have kept coming up, and it has to do with inking, and we're almost at the end of Inktober. So anyway, comment down below if you have any other recommendations for inking books, if you're familiar with this book, and how your Inktober experience has gone. I always say that next year I'm going to do every day and I'm going to follow the prompts and all that, but we'll see. I'm saying that this year again. We'll see about next year. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.